Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MSBA Career Services Webinar. We're so happy that all of you have joined us this evening. So many of you from all across the world, as usual, with these wonderful webinars. So thank you so much for taking time out of your evening, some of you out of your morning, to learn more about the career services that are offered here at Mendoza College of Business for our brand new MSBA program. Before we get started today, I do have a couple of housekeeping tips for all of you as we progress through the webinar. So first and foremost, we will love to answer your questions either throughout the webinar or at the end. We will be saving plenty of time to answer your questions. But if you do have questions, please submit them through the Q&A functionality of the webinar. Please do not submit questions through the chat feature. We will not be monitoring the chat feature. So as I see chats coming in, which I hope I don't, but if I do, I'll try to remind you all to submit those questions through the Q&A function, and then we'll be happy to get to those throughout the webinar and at the end. Second, please keep yourself muted so that we can avoid any of that background noise and feedback. We'll be happy to answer questions through the Q&A function, so don't worry about having your microphone on and trying to ask questions directly by voice. And again, feel free to submit questions throughout the webinar. You don't have to wait till the end. You can go ahead and submit them at any time. If we are covering something and you have a question about it at that time, go ahead and submit the question then so you remember, and we will certainly get to it. So that's it for housekeeping tips. So we're going to go ahead and get started with introductions and get the webinar rolling. All right, so first up is my colleague Lindsay. So Lindsay,
hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Lindsey McIntyre. I am the MSBA Career Coach. I'm an Associate Director in Graduate Business Career Services, so serving the MSBA program. I started here in May with this year's the first inaugural class of the MSBA program, and we are well underway. I live in a small town south of here with my family, my husband Mason, and my two kids, Anna and Sam, and my beloved dog, Gipper. I have an undergrad degree from IU in Bloomington, Indiana, and a master's of nonprofit administration from Notre Dame, actually from here. I graduated in 2016. I spent about 10 years from 2007 until 2017 in various capacities at the university. I served in budget finance centrally for about 6 years. I did budget finance for the College of Engineering for 3 years. And I did research and analysis for corporate and foundation relations for about a year. I left the university and did some nonprofit work for a couple of years before returning this past May. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right, so then on to me. A lot of you already know me if you've attended the other two webinars. Thank you for coming back. But I am Stephanie Brown. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions for the MSBA here at Mendoza. And so just a little bit about me. I grew up here in the South Bend area, so I lived here my entire life. So if any of you have questions about the area, about living here, about all of the great things that you can expect by coming to South Bend and to Notre Dame, I'm happy to answer those questions for you. You see in the bigger picture there, it's my husband Adam and my two sons Finley and Connor. We're there in the Notre Dame Stadium, so we've been Notre Dame fans forever. And I'm just really thrilled to be able to work here and to grow this new MSBA program. The second picture is our brand new kitten. His name is Percival, and we just adopted him from a shelter about a month ago. So he's about 4 months old now. So the newest addition to our family that we're all excited about. All right, so now that you know a little bit more about me and Lindsay, we will go ahead and get started on the content.
Sure. So a little bit about our the Graduate Business Career Services Department. Our mission, as you can read there, is to help students obtain careers that allow them to be their best and have a positive impact on organizations, communities, and families. And it's really to set you up for long-term success in your careers. Our strategy, and we really believe that having an understanding of self-awareness plus marketplace awareness We connect the two to help you find and identify your targeted job opportunities. We find that when we really help you understand what drives you, what you're motivated by, and then kind of match that with industries, functions, corporations, companies, anything, it helps to kind of narrow down those specific opportunities that will set you up for future success. So we're very strategic about finding the right fit for each of you, helping you discern and figure out what the right fit is. That will establish a foundation for future success in your careers long term. Our services, we offer dedicated one-on-one coaching with me. So you have the opportunity throughout your entire tenure in the program to have coaching appointments as much or as little as you need. We offer a Bridge to Success career course, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and then some on-campus employer engagement opportunities. So if you want to switch to the next slide, Stephanie. I'll talk about each one of these, and there's information here. The one-on-one coaching model is to provide tailored, customized coaching for each of you. So you're all coming in, every student that's in this program has a different background, has different experience even. So we really want to tailor these one-on-one sessions towards what you need and where your gaps are. So we provide resume and cover letter reviews, networking strategies, we do mock interviews, we can talk about offer and acceptance, things like that. These coaching sessions are driven by you, so you schedule the appointments, you set the agenda, and you drive the discussion. So really I'm here to serve you in that way with anything that you might need with regards to your career. The keys to success, and I really believe this is true, is that we will build a relationship over the years. So students must be honest with yourself, but then I need to be honest with you. So it's kind of a back and forth. You have to be realistic about your experience, what you are looking for, and you know, some students have a lot of high aspirations, and I think that's great. But understand it's a journey, so you just never know, you know, what the right fit at the post-graduation is. It may not be the same as what your long-term goal is, but we want to help you figure out how to set yourself up for success to achieve that long-term goal. So we will teach you the skills that will serve you beyond your time at Notre Dame, and we want you to have long-term success in your careers, not just your first job post-graduation. So our Bridge to Success career course is really 3 phases. We want you to understand the business analytics marketplace. So we'll spend a little time going through industries and functions, and then breaking down from there companies and roles, and we'll show you some outcome data. The thing about analytics is it spans all industries and functions, and every company is an analytics company or needs analytics. And there are also analytics companies specifically geared towards analytics, more in the consulting space. So there's a lot of different opportunities, and so we try to help break that down. We also teach personal branding, so your pitch, your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn. It really is all about you and setting you up, kind of capturing all of your goals and ambitions and putting them into your branding materials so that you are prepared to go through the recruiting process. And then from there, we help you figure out a job search strategy. So the networking strategies that I mentioned, interview techniques, we really try to work through. So the tools and outcomes, really with the class, there's not a lot of work involved, but we have a targeted company list, a template that we work through, which will help you identify based on your preferred industries and functions, different roles at different companies, because every company is different and you can't figure out, it's tough, it can be tough to figure out what analyst roles or even consultant roles within the analyst space are at each company, and every company can be a little bit different in that way. So the targeted company list really helps with that. The job ready branding materials are customized towards your targeted opportunities. So there's some strategy behind that. We don't teach you to have a one size fits all resume. We really help you break down and kind of create your resume based on keywords and things that will set you up to get into that first interview. And then just a strategic approach to articulate and communicate your value, because everyone that comes through this program has so much to offer and a huge value. So we have this approach that it's called CAR. We teach CAR stories. It's context, action, and result. But we really help you learn that framework, which will help you answer a multitude of questions. So we help you build some stories, build some just examples of your background that will help you in the interview process and help you tailor those answers towards what we hear is kind of happens as you go through the interview process. So we're very strategic about that. I mentioned employer engagement opportunities, the on-campus. So we do offer quite a bit. I want to mention, though, that on-campus interviews, on-campus career events are the tip of the iceberg. So it is a piece of it, but it is not everything. And we really do try to teach you to fish so that you can go out there and find the opportunities, because analytics opportunities are everywhere and we can't begin to capture them all. And so many are identified off campus. I'll talk a little bit about that. But on campus, we have two ITAO Career Connect. So ITAO is Information Technology, Analytics, and Operations. So we have two career fairs that are specific towards the space that you're in, one in the fall and one in the winter. We have a Consulting Connect that's really mostly geared towards careers in consulting, which captures some of you. The big career fair, so the biggest career fair we offer is in the fall, but there's also one in the winter, and then there's a regional career and internship fair in the spring. We have company presentations scheduled throughout fall and spring semesters, and we really try to bring companies on campus that are interested in our students, but also that you're interested in seeing. So we're constantly working to build relationships with new companies and strengthen relationships that we have with existing companies. The Notre Dame brand is broad and it's huge, so it's constantly evolving. We do have on-campus interviews as well, and they're all held in the Duncan Student Center, which is where I am located, and you'll get acclimated with that pretty quick after you arrive on campus. So yeah, there's some opportunities on campus, but then there's additional opportunities. We really try to teach you networking. We try to provide a lot of social events that will help you with your networking. We have monthly bagels and coffee with other specialized master's students. The career coaches are there. We have, I think, typically 3 Mendoza tailgates a year that give you opportunities to connect with alumni and faculty and staff as well. We have lunches and learns. I am in the process of creating some lunch and learns as needed based on the needs of the students. So we have a couple of things coming up. One of the things that we're starting is to share an article and then maybe come together, an article with regards to analytics in something. I mean, it could be an ethical piece or something with regards to analytics, and we send that out and then do a lunch and learn where we can kind of discuss it, which helps if English isn't your first language. These sorts of opportunities will really help you to read and process and then share your thoughts in English. So we try to give you as many opportunities to practice those skills. Also, you have the opportunity to be part of many different clubs, but the Business Analytics Club is one of the clubs that's pretty popular with our students, and they offer training sessions, so more deep dives in things like R and Python and Tableau. They bring in industry speakers to talk about opportunities. We recently completed in the fall, we do a Chicago trek. The one we just did this past, a couple of weeks ago, we visited, or students had the opportunity to visit 2 different companies, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and they could pick and choose. So the 4 that we visited in Chicago in October were Gartner, Google, TransUnion, and Innova, and that changes from year to year depending on what connections we have and what our students are wanting. So that's something that is really informative and can help students discern, again, what opportunities and how companies are using analytics in their individual companies. So there's also case competitions, and I should mention, and we share those as they come across, and 3 of this year's MSBA students actually made it to the semifinal round in the Adobe Analytics Challenge. So they were there were 20 teams that were chosen out of about 230 teams, and we had a team that was chosen, and they did an awesome presentation, which was a huge honor. I mean, this was a big nationwide competition, so that was a big deal. So we try to share those opportunities as much as possible. Other things that we do, we recently, 11 of our students attended the Informs annual meeting, which Informs is it's a group in the analytics space. The annual meeting is a more academic focused conference for PhD students, but they have a career fair that's a big part of it. And several of our students were able to get interviews, and one of our students actually was able to participate in a case competition with 2 different PhDs, which was a unique opportunity just because these 2 PhDs needed someone with a business mind. So he was able to provide a different set of skills that was needed. So we try to share as many of those opportunities and give you just resources and connections and ways for you to really get out there and see what's out there as far as career opportunities and case competitions as well. So,
and Lindsay, before
yes.
you go on, I do see that there's a chat in there, and I just want to remind everyone that if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit them through the Q&A function rather than the chat, because we're not really able to monitor that chat the whole time. So, and I know one of you you're asking through the chat, can you download the PowerPoint? And we will send a video of this webinar later on. But certainly if you would like the slides, I'm sure we can send those to you as well. But again, please submit any questions you have through the Q&A function. We'll be happy to get to those. Thank you.
And also, I will share my contact information. If you have questions beyond this webinar, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to do calls with you, Zoom, anything that would help you as you are trying to figure out if this is the right fit for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
So I want to talk a little bit about beyond graduation. Obviously, we are in our first class, right? We just completed Mod 1 of the first MSBA program or cohort. So we don't know exactly what that looks like, but I can share some information, some insights. We're off to a fairly aggressive start. It's become clear that the top industries, and this could change for our MSBA graduates, as of right now, are consulting, technology, and financial services. Some others that are also kind of up there, but I haven't mentioned in here, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, and then the sports analytics industry. I mean, a lot of, not a lot, but we have a handful of students that are actually interested in analytics in the sports arena. So whether it be professional teams, college teams, and Dr. Nestler is very connected in that way. So that's something that's kind of fun and interesting. So companies hiring our MSBA graduates, and this is again, this data is pulled from our MSBA Chicago program, which is a little bit different, but I can tell you we have several students. I can think of at least 3 right now, and one just recently is going to accept an offer from EY. So EY is where at least right now 3 of our students are going in the risk advisory space. TransUnion is very interested in our analytics students. I have had phone calls with Amazon Web Services. They're also interested. Protiviti is one that they hire a lot of our Chicago and our undergrad students. They do not sponsor international students, at least not right now, but they will hire and place. They're a global company. Eli Lilly, a lot of our students had success getting through the interview process with Eli Lilly. I don't know if they've had any offers. I think they're still going through that. JP Morgan Chase hires a lot of our undergrad and Chicago students. Grant Thornton is another one. PwC, Microsoft, and then Deloitte. Now I will say Deloitte, there are certain, I can't remember, Deloitte and PwC are constantly changing what they sponsor, what positions they sponsor for. But because of the STEM extension of this program, our students in the MSBA program are definitely more marketable than students in other programs, because companies can hire you on for 3 years as opposed to just 1 with regular OPT. But I will say what we've found, and I've done a lot of benchmarking with peer schools, and the primary recruiting season for the MSBA program across the board is in the spring. So a lot of what we call just-in-time jobs are in this space, because the analytics space, the analytics industry or function is growing so fast, and it's constantly changing. And in calls I've had with different companies, they cannot keep up with they can't hire enough, and they need people now. So there are, as soon as 100 people are hired, then the next wave starts again, and there's 100 more. So it's something that is constantly evolving. And again, specifically in the tech space, fall recruiting isn't going to be huge. And I will say fall recruiting is more important for our students wanting to go into consulting, because a lot of our consulting companies come to campus and they are recruiting in the fall for May of the following year starts. So I've seen that. our students are getting interviews. I mean, they are really networking, getting out there. And I would say I've had several that have gotten to the final round. I don't think I put on here Uber Freight, and I don't know that any of our students were successful with it, but Uber Freight is one that really is interested in our students, and they're constantly, so our students that went through the fall recruiting, and I think there were 3 that got final interviews, and I don't know that they received offers, but they received kind of, the feedback was that they can apply again, that they are, you know, when you're first entering this program, depending on your background, you may not have the skills to pass the case interview until you get deeper into the program, you know, into the second, third mods. And so I think what's happening in some of these tech companies early on is their students aren't quite ready, but they want to bring them back for another round of interviews come spring. So I think that that's something just to keep in mind. And I will work with each of you individually on these things too, to help you, give you advice if you have questions. It's something that's constantly, again, evolving and changing. So I don't know if there's anything else. I think that's all I have. I don't know if you want me to take questions or wait till the end.
Sure. Well, so if anyone has questions for Lindsay, feel free to go ahead and put them in the Q&A function right now, and we'll get to those. So, and hopefully some will come in while I'm talking, but I wanted to move on and just touch base with all of you on the admissions process for the MSBA. If you have not had an opportunity to join me for one of our 2 previous webinars, you might not have gotten this information yet. So I wanted to just add a little bit about the admissions process for this program so that you're getting a lot of information during your time with us tonight. So just to give you an idea of who we admit to this program, we currently have 35 students in our first MSBA class, and our first residential MSBA class. And what I will note about that is the 35, that is a full class, but the program is growing. And so we will actually have 80 seats for next year's class. So good news for all of you, because we have more seats to fill, and that means there's more opportunities to admit strong students like all of you. So our current class of 35 is approximately 74% international, and we anticipate that moving forward we'll have around 65 to 70% international students in that class, just as we monitor the application pool and the interest that we have out there. We currently have 45% of the class female. We also, in terms of GPA, the middle 80% range of the current class was 3.33 to 3.89. The middle 80% range for GMAT was 654 to 746. And the middle 80% range for GRE was 310 to 326. And then in terms of undergraduate majors, we have a lot of variety within the majors. Obviously, the majority of them are coming from business backgrounds. So 38% are coming from just a general business major or management, 31% coming from finance, 15% from econ, and then 12% from accounting. And if you are good at math, which all of you should be, if you're interested in the MSBA, you'll know that we're missing 4% out of that. And so we have 4% other majors, and that includes political science, IT, and even design as well. We have a current student who came from a design school. So this program is, while it does cater to folks who have a business background, it also caters to folks who have strong quantitative abilities. And you can certainly gain quantitative skills and ability without having a business major or even a math major. So you know, this can be a possibility for a wide range of students. So if you're curious if your background matches, please feel free to reach out to me and we can talk more about it and see how you align with the current class and the application pool that's out there. So next, just talking about the application itself, I'm hoping that many of you have already started, maybe even submitted your applications. If you haven't, we would love to see your application. So I listed here all of the requirements for the application. So other than the form itself, the actual electronic application form, we also require a resume. And your resume should just be one page. So, include on there any kind of internships that you've had. It doesn't matter if they're related to analytics or to business, but any internships that you've had. We want to learn about your professional experiences. If you've had part-time or summer jobs as well, even if you were a summer lifeguard at a pool, we want to hear about that. If you have had involvement in campus clubs and organizations at your undergraduate institution, we'd love to hear about that as well. Any community service, that's also a wonderful thing to add to your resume. You can also discuss on your resume any skills that you have. Perhaps you're really great with the Microsoft suite. Maybe you have some experience with Python or with R, with SQL, any type of professional skills that could potentially be related to your future career, to analytics. Please add those as well. And anything else that you feel is pertinent that could be added to that resume. We'd love to see it, but again, try to keep that to one page. We also require 2 recommendations. You are able to submit a third recommendation, but if you are going to submit a third, it should be someone who can speak to different qualities than the first 2 recommenders spoke about, so that we're learning something completely new about you. If you are currently in an undergraduate program, one of those recommenders should be an academic reference, so perhaps a faculty member who you've had a class with, or your academic advisor who you've worked with very closely, but someone who can speak to your academic abilities, your skill set, your work ethic in class, your work in class group projects, anything like that, or even potentially research if you've done that through classes or with a faculty member. Your second recommender could be another academic reference. It could be a professional reference if you've had an internship. We'd love to hear from a former supervisor of yours, or if you are one of the candidates who maybe has a couple of years of work experience, we certainly would love to hear from your current supervisor for the position that you're currently in. If you have a few years of work experience, it's been a few years since you've been in an undergraduate program, then you are more than welcome to submit 2 professional references rather than that academic reference, because we know it might be difficult to find an academic reference who remembers you. Hopefully you've made a good positive impression and they remember you, but sometimes it's hard to find someone a few years out. So 2 professional references if you're a couple to a few years out of undergrad is fine. You also can submit a recommendation from maybe someone who you've worked closely with in a local community organization doing community service, someone from your church community as well. So there's a lot of great options. If you're curious to know if a certain individual would be a good fit for a recommender, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to talk you through that. We also require your official transcripts. Any institution you have attended, we need a transcript for. Even if you started at one institution and transferred to another and all of your grades and courses transferred over and are on your second transcript, we need to see transcripts from every institution. And also if you have attended a summer program or you've taken a class at a local community college or even online, we need those transcripts as well. And if you are an international applicant, your transcript must be translated into English. It does not require an evaluation from WES or any other in organizations similar to WES, it doesn't have to be evaluated, but it does need to be translated into English. We also require at least one set of official test scores from the GRE or GMAT. A lot of you ask often, do we require both, one or the other? Which one should I take? That's entirely up to you. We will take either the GMAT or the GRE. It's a personal preference. The GMAT is more quantitatively focused, whereas the GRE has a better balance of the quantitative and the verbal. So you decide. You can take practice exams online through the testing agencies, and you can get a sense of what format, what kinds of questions are on each of those exams, and decide what feels most comfortable for you. Sometimes it's more about your background than anything, so feel free to take those exams, practice exams online, and decide which one works best for you. If you are an international applicant, we do require at least one set of scores from either the TOEFL or the IELTS in order to measure your English language proficiency. So one caveat to that is that if you completed your entire undergraduate program in the US, or if you have studied at least 3 consecutive years in the US, you are waived of that TOEFL or IELTS requirement. Alternately, if your undergraduate program was international but was taught completely in English, then again, you are waived of that TOEFL or IELTS requirement. So some of you ask, how do I get that waiver? By virtue of your transcript, if it comes from a U.S. institution, we will note that, and we will automatically waive that requirement on your application checklist. And if your undergraduate program was taught in English, we just require a document from the institution saying that the medium of instruction was English. And then once we have that document, we will waive that requirement for you. So I saw a question pop up, but I want to make sure it's not related to what I'm talking about. Okay, so we do have some questions for Lindsay. And so I will, and it's from Ish. Hi, Ish. Thank you for joining us. So we will we'll get right to you, Ish. I'm going to finish up the admissions list here, and then we'll take it right back over to Lindsay for you. Okay, so essay. The essay is next. So you get 2 essay options. Pick one. You don't need to write 2 essays, just one. I get a lot of questions about the format of the essay. So our only guidelines are 2 pages, typed, double-spaced. Okay, not too scary at all. Do we care about the font or the font size? No. I would say stick with the standard 12-point font. But other than that, we don't have any guidelines for margins or anything like that. It's a little bit more laid back than maybe some of your assignments. So just 2 pages typed, double-spaced. That's all we really care about. The essay is a great way for us to get to know you better and more personally. So think about that as you're considering the content of your essay. Certainly, it's also a great measure of your English writing ability. And so think about that as you polish that essay before you submit it. We also require a slide presentation. So I get the most questions about this. The slide presentation, though, is my favorite part of the application. We require 4 slides. It doesn't matter what slide program you use, but you will save them as a PDF file, and that's how you will upload them to your application. So the 4 slides, those are meant to help the admissions committee get to know you as an individual. What makes you tick? How are you unique? What are your passions? What are your interests? Your slides can be creative, they can be fun. Use lots of pictures, but have a good balance of text and pictures as well. We still want to learn more about you through the slides. So make sure that there is text, but pictures are great. the slides should be new information. So information you didn't include in your essay, information that's not on your resume. It doesn't need to be a reiteration of your course schedule for the past 4 years, your internships, all of that stuff we see on your transcript, we see on your resume. So new information. Who are you as an individual? That's what we want to see from those slides. So have fun with that. I just saw another question pop up, so I want to make sure that it's not related to, it's more questions for Lindsay. So I can tell I need to quit talking and get back to Lindsay here in a second. So I'm going to quickly wrap up here, and then I'll let Lindsay do some talking, and then we'll finish up with the slides. So last items on the list here, an interview. So not every candidate is invited to interview, and that has nothing to do with your admissibility, your qualifications. It's just a matter of when we review your application, do we need to gain more information? Do we need to learn more about your interest in the program, your background, internships you've done, any part of your education? Do we need to learn more? And so that's when we would extend an interview offer. You are welcome to schedule an interview without being invited, and you can do that through our website. So if you would like to do that, that's entirely up to you. But otherwise, the admissions committee will extend an interview invitation to you if they feel that they need to learn more information about you. Last item on our checklist for admissions is a $50 application fee. I'm going to cover that in just a few minutes. I'm going to let Lindsay answer some of her questions, but I know that many of you will remember that I promised an application fee waiver if you joined us tonight, and I will give you that code here in just a few minutes. But I'm going to pass it over back over to Lindsay so she can answer some of these great questions you guys are submitting. Okay.
Okay. So.
Oops, I'm sorry. And I just closed the question pane.
All right. So Ish is wanting to know, can you please expand on the fall recruitment timeline for management consulting and financial services? Sure. So fall recruiting begins in September with companies coming to campus for the ITAO Career Connect and the Fall Career Fair. And those two events happen. The ITAO event that's specific to analytics is usually on a Monday night, or this year it was on a Monday night. And then the career fair was the following Tuesday, was the next day, basically on Tuesday. So a lot of the companies that are coming to hire our students, oh, hi there. A lot of companies that are coming to hire our students will come to both of those events. So we try to have them back to back so that, because companies are coming and they specifically want analytics if they're coming to the ITAO Career Connect, but they also may want other positions too. So they will be at the career fair as well. And those are usually in September. And then interviews, follow-up interviews, they all post jobs. The companies that we partner with post jobs on a tool called Handshake. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but Notre Dame has a subscription to Handshake, and companies will post their positions on Handshake. And so you can apply, you can talk to the companies and the recruiters through the recruitment or the fall career events. And it is so for management consulting and financial services both, although I haven't seen as much financial services in the fall. I have a couple students that had offers already before they came to Notre Dame in the financial services space, but definitely management consulting. You go through fall recruiting, and usually there are two behavioral rounds of interviews, and then if you make it into the final round, the on-site interview, they will bring you to their location, depending on where it is. I've had several students go up to Chicago for these. And then offers will start to come in around this time if you're in the consulting space. So the second question then, what type of roles are most common among students going into financial services industry in terms of verticals such as treasury, investment banking, corporate finance, risk advisory? So I would say all of those. We have students going into risk advisory for financial services and consulting. I mean, I mentioned EY has hired a couple of our students in the risk advisory space. So it's kind of, I mean, EY and Deloitte, those are consulting and also financial services, depending on how you look at it. They can fall into both of those industries. But I also have like portfolio investment management. I've got a couple of students that have had offers when they came in just through their internships. And I don't know, actually, I don't know if any of our students, I'll have to follow up on some of them that were interested in that space to see. My hunch is that consulting is the one that's heavy in the fall, and that financial services will be more just-in-time jobs, so things that they'll recruit for in the spring semester. So hopefully that answers your question. And then, let's see, with such a large percentage of international students, is there focus on bringing companies to campus that sponsor H-1B or provide services like a list of? Yes. So that is what we are really working towards. We want to bring companies on campus that sponsor, because it's not beneficial to a program that has 70% international if we're having companies that don't sponsor. So yes, that is something that we are looking at. We also have resources that we can help you identify opportunities and lists of employers that allow. So I use my Visa Jobs. I can't remember, there's some others. We work really closely with the International Department on campus, the ISA department, to try to provide as many resources and information to you all that will help you. We are very international and H-1B friendly around here, so I don't want that to be anything that's concerning. Oh, and we love you too, Stephanie.
And we do have a career services staff member who focuses on international students.
That is
as
true.
Well.
Yes.
So
and we are working on a lot of new things even, and we're again based on feedback. This group, this 35 group, the inaugural group, is providing so much feedback that will kind of lay the foundation for next year. So great things to come, and we're constantly learning and evolving. As I keep saying, but it's true. We are very student focused, and my job is really to get to know each of you personally, and understand what drives you and what connections, and then help you. I really want to see you succeed and fly. So and that's a case-by-case basis, obviously, and the more I get to know you, the more we'll be able to work through those strategies together.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
All right, so if you have any more questions, go ahead and submit them. Can be admissions related too, since I'm here as well, and I ask and you deliver.
Biggest lesson. That's a good question.
Okay, what's been the biggest lesson learned this so far in the first year of the program for each of you? Oh, that's a great question. Oh my gosh. I have to think about that for a second. Greatest lesson, biggest lesson learned.
I can say for me personally is that I get to sit at my desk in South Bend, in Notre Dame, Indiana, and I'm from Indiana, born and raised, and I get to meet every one of you, all of the international students specifically, but also the domestics, is just such a blessing, because I get this huge cultural experience, and I really try to help you. I want you all to know, if you are an international or H-1B seeker, you have such a value. You bring a value to the table that I wouldn't have brought as someone born and raised in Indiana. You have a perspective that's so broad, and that I think is helpful for a company, or even for your fellow students within this program. So for me, it's just been, I don't know if that's a lesson, I guess, but just something that is just so powerful, something that I've realized, the relationships that I have and I've built with these students will carry far into the future.
Yeah.
Like it's really, this is a top-notch group, and I expect the same for next year's group as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned, because I do work closely with the program director, who works very closely with the curriculum committee for the MSBA, and with it being the first year, we want to ensure that this program is delivering what our students need. And so there's a lot of outreach from the program director, from the faculty and the curriculum committee, to our current students to make sure that, again, this program is delivering what they need. And I think through this process, I have learned that our faculty are very focused on our students, and they are not here to just teach a lesson and give a test and hand out grades and go home, but they're here to make sure that our students are reaching their goals and that they're meeting their potential. and so they're very invested in learning and hearing from our students in this first year of the program on what they think. Are there issues with the program that they need to correct for next year? Are there great things that they want to continue and to keep going? Are there additions that they would like to see, whether it's more electives or more opportunities to work with the MBA students who are here at Mendoza, all of those things. So they're here to listen, and they are making adjustments and they are making changes. And so I have a lot of great hope for this program as it moves forward, and as we see it grow, not only in the number of students, but as we see it grow in terms of how the curriculum changes and the new opportunities and offerings that we have. So just know that, coming into Mendoza and joining this program, you will have a voice because we want to see this program succeed. We did spend the past 2 years building the program to see it go nowhere. So just know that you will have a voice and that we do care.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably the biggest strength of our program is that we have so many people around the table that are intentional about providing the best product with the program to our students.
Absolutely. So Blessing has a question about scholarships. So do we offer international student scholarships? Absolutely. We actually, here at Mendoza in Graduate Business School, we call these fellowships, but just a different word for the same thing. It's a merit-based scholarship, which we call fellowships. And all candidates for the MSBA, if they qualify and they're admitted to the program, they can earn merit-based money from us. That range can be anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000. And so we're looking at your academic performance in undergrad, any professional experiences you've had, whether they're internships or full-time employment, the recommendations that you've sent us, and we're looking at community involvement, we're looking at leadership ability, scores, and so on. So all of those things will play a role in fellowship awarding. That happens at the time of admission. So one thing, my best advice, if you're interested in earning a fellowship, you need a fellowship to make this program affordable for you, then remember on your application, there on the additional information page of your application, the very first question that we ask is, do you want to be considered for merit-based fellowships? Answer yes. That's all you need to do. That's the extent of your fellowship application. So as long as you click yes on that question, then we will consider you for fellowship money. If you are admitted, we will let you know in your admissions letter that you receive a fellowship and how much that fellowship is. Okay. So any other questions that you have, please feel free to submit those. I still have a couple of quick things to talk about. So go ahead and submit any questions you have while I am talking, and I'll be happy to address those. So I mentioned that $50 application fee as the last item on your application checklist, but I did also mention a waiver for that application fee. So here you go. So get out your pen and paper and write that down. So Irish Web right here. So all caps, all one word, Irish Web. That is your fee waiver code. So you will enter that into the additional information page at the bottom. So you have a fee waiver section there, so just type that in and click continue, and you will not be prompted to pay a fee. So I just saw a couple of questions pop up, so let's see what they are here. Let's see, if someone wants to pursue higher education after the master's program, such as PhD, how does ND-MSBA help students to explore more academia? So, I think that is going to be something that you will work closely. It could be, a faculty advisor, I think would be the best guides for you to explore that. because the majority of our faculty are PhD holders as well. And so, you know, they have been there, and they can kind of guide you along that process, maybe direct you to some fellow faculty members here at Notre Dame who you can talk to. Now, with the MSBA and with all of our graduate business programs here at Mendoza, the master's level degree is the highest degree offered here. So PhD is not an option within business, but there are plenty of other PhD programs in other institutions and right here at Notre Dame. So again, I believe that the faculty members that you will meet throughout the program will be your absolute best guides, and can give you some tips and pointers on how to pursue that line of education. Okay, so will there be a webinar for the dual degree MBA MSBA program? I believe so, yes. So my colleagues in the admissions office who work primarily with the MBA program will typically host one of those webinars to cover that dual degree. We have had a webinar about this program in the past, and I see absolutely no reason why we won't have one this year as well. So please stay tuned. Also, I would recommend looking on our website on the MBA online events for future webinars, because that's where that will be posted, on the MBA page. Okay, so that's all the questions that we have so far. Please continue to submit while we're still here. Happy to answer more questions, but I do want to go ahead and very quickly touch on our last slide, which is our admissions deadlines. So in case you haven't started your application yet, or you started it but haven't submitted yet, I want to make you aware of the deadlines that we have coming up. So you can see there we've already passed our early decision deadline. We've already passed round 1 deadline very recently. So the next deadline coming up is round 2. So that deadline is January 14th. An ideal round if you're currently still in your undergraduate program and you've got a holiday break coming up, you know, during the December, January months. It's a great time to sit down and work on your application and all of your supplemental documents and get those submitted right after you come back to school from that holiday break. And so I did want to point out too that with those rounds that we have there, those are really designed for you. They're designed to, you know, allow the admissions process to fit into your schedule. You know, maybe you have if you're already working, maybe you have a busy season at work, and you know, one round isn't going to work, so you've got another option there. If you're a busy college student currently, you know, that round 2 is great because you have plenty of time during the holidays to work on your application. Maybe you're a college athlete, and maybe fall is when your sport is, and you just can't do anything right now in terms of grad school applications, but you know, in the spring you'll have a lot more time, and so you know, maybe the St. Patrick's Day round or maybe the round 3 will be good for you. So these are just designed to fit into your schedule, so don't feel that, you know, one round is better than the other. You will still have admission opportunity in each round. You will still have fellowship opportunity in each round. So pick the round that fits best for you and gives you the most time to not only prepare your application, but perhaps prepare for the GRE or the GMAT as well, maybe the TOEFL if you need to take that as well. So just make sure that you give yourself plenty of time, okay? So the last piece of advice I will give you in terms of the application deadlines, in order to click submit and actually get your application submitted by that deadline, we only need your portion of the application. So we need your application form, we need your resume, we need your essay, your slides, and your recommender contact information. Everything else can come in after the fact. So your score reports can come in later, your transcripts can come in later, the recommendations, they can come in later as well. So we only need those few pieces that you can control in order for you to click submit. Now, to make it easier for you in terms of transcripts and scores, we will accept unofficial copies of both the transcripts and your score reports in order to complete your application. So you can submit those. You should be able to access both transcripts and score reports just by virtue of your login account for those various organizations, and so you should be able to download a PDF and then attach that to your application. We would count that as satisfying your application. If you're admitted to the program and you choose to enroll, then we will require you to submit the official documents. So your official transcript from your university, your official scores from the testing agencies as well. Okay, so hopefully that makes it a little bit easier and speeds up that process for you. Now, with saying that we will take all of those additional documents after you click submit, please remember though that we still need time to process your application, to review it, and we want to get you a decision on time by those decision deadlines. So we ask that you at least submit those additional requirements no later than 2 weeks prior to the decision date listed for your round. That gives us 2 weeks to review all of those documents. You spend a lot of time putting your application together. We want to put in as much time reviewing everything to be very fair to you. So make sure that you're giving us that time. So 2 weeks to process your application, to go through the various stages of review, and then to hopefully get you that decision on time. Okay. So with that, I'm done. So I know I saw a couple of questions, but one more question that popped up in there, and it wasn't even a question, just a thank you, and you're welcome. So if anybody else has any other questions, Lindsay and I will stay on here for just a couple more minutes. We're happy to answer any questions about career services or about admissions as well. So feel free to pop those in as we close out here. But otherwise, thank you all so much for joining us tonight and for submitting those great questions, for listening to us. If you have any other questions along the way, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'll have Lindsay in the chat section here. So I lied earlier. We are going to use the chat feature here, but I'm going to have Lindsay go ahead and type in her contact information so that you all will have that. And can reach out to her for career services, for career services questions. And all of you should have my contact information since I send you emails all the time. Right? Yep, that's it. Okay. Yeah, that's all. So in your chat feature from the webinar, Lindsay has put in her name and email address, so don't hesitate to reach out to her or me. We're always happy to help. I get questions and emails all the time, and I always get I'm sorry for bothering you. This is my job. I love it. I know Lindsay loves her job too. We love to communicate with our prospective students, our current students as well. So never ever worry about shooting us an email. We're happy to talk and answer those questions. So again, thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to hearing from you soon, and I hope to see some more applications come through. All right, guys, have a great night, a great morning to some of you, and we will see you all soon. Bye-bye.